Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's well. Obviously, yeah, just paying respects to Peach, real name Matthew, who sadly the news filtered through this morning that he's passed away. Peach, for those of you who didn't know, was quite a character on a lot of the West Ham channels. Lived in Canada, Toronto, and always used to say, I'm going to go and meet him because I've got a lot of family there. So, yeah, just puts us all into perspective, doesn't it, about life and family and friends and that kind of thing, really. So, very sad news. I've got to start off the show with, I'm afraid, really. So, rest in peace, Peach, my friend. Hope you find peace at the other side, really, as they say. So, yeah, very sad news this morning, really. And yeah, what a character he was, and great West Ham sort of lad as well. Good morning, Frankie. How you doing, sir? You all right?
Good morning, mate. And it does put things into perspective, mate, that, there is, I know we all say, football is more than just a hobby. It's a way of life and everything else. And, it's everything to some people. But, things and moments like that, mate, it does put it into perspective. And football isn't everything, mate.
Yeah, it does, mate. And yeah, very, very young age as well. But yeah, sad, isn't it? You had a good week, mate? Bit productive, and thank God it's a bit cooler now, isn't it, mate? Much more manageable day to day, isn't it?
Needed. I don't deal with the heat particularly well, mate, being a bit of a bigger lad. So I'm glad that there's a bit of breeze around now. So yeah, much better, mate.
I mean, yesterday I found it ever so humid. I was drenched, mate, walking around, and last night was much better, wasn't it, really, for everyone?
I went down to get my old Barnet cut, and walking home, I was leaking, mate. It was
not good.
When you was indoors yesterday, it weren't too bad. As long as you weren't in the sun, it was manageable. But as soon as you went out in the sun, it was tough.
Yeah, getting busy in the chat. So hope everyone's well. We've come to Friday. This is our weekly show where we wrap up things that we've heard since the last show, sort of this time last week. So a lot of things have happened. And I just wanted to start off by saying, I don't think you went to the Rangers game in the end, did you, mate?
I didn't, mate, no, because the Beano down to Great Yarmouth is tomorrow. I decided to give it a miss, mate. So, but I'm glad I did now, because it seemed like there was a lot of travel issues, a lot of people who got the trains delays, and some people getting taxis from Preston the rest of the way up to Glasgow. And yeah, it seems like it was a real headache for what ended up being not a particularly fun game to watch from a West Ham perspective. But I did watch it with my boy, where we watched the first half. He likes to see a bit of action. I don't think we had a shot. So we gave up at half-time and didn't bother with the second half. So
yeah, pre-season's been a bit like that. Not much to shout about. Nothing really, just the same, just going through the run mill and going through the motions. Yeah, that's what makes West Ham fans great. The lads who've made it there through... Yeah, a lot of all the fires we were having around then in the country, and I saw a van on fire even the day after, mate. It was just going all over the place, and very dangerous, very difficult travelling up there as well. But it is what it is. And were you surprised with the result that we got? We kind of got hammered, didn't we? Really, 3-0, 3-1. Yeah,
I'm not really surprised with the result, mate. I don't think the result matters too much in pre-season. Results are what they are. You like to see something a little bit different in pre-season. You like to see us working towards something, maybe, just signs of the type of pattern of play we're going to play in the season that's ahead. And you just want to take a couple of little bit of positives here and there. And there hasn't been too many so far. But, it is what it is, mate. It's pre-season. I heard a few people sort of commenting that, we was trying a different type of press in the second half, and it left us exposed and open and so on. But I don't know how much I believe that, because I've watched David Moyes' coaching videos about how to press and when to press. And also I've watched Stuart Pearce's video on that as well. Stuart Pearce done a very similar video on the same channel. And they know how to press, mate. They've been doing the similar type of press for a lot of years. And Moyes' and Pearce's style wasn't particularly any different, and so I'm not sure how much I buy into that. I think that might have been an excuse to try and let us off a little bit, but yeah, just very impotent again, mate. Not creating any chances when you're sitting there with your little one and you're watching it.
Yeah.
Just want to see a bit of action. And he likes goals, and he likes to see
Goals.
Bowen on the ball. And he was like, Dad, why ain't Bowen on fire? And it was like, well, because he can't get the ball, mate. Like he ain't even touched the ball. Like it's so, it's good because youngsters who are 4 years old and that, they simplify everything. Do you know what I mean? They give you the most simple opinion of what they're looking at. And we obviously, as we get older, we overthink it a bit more. And he was just so spot on with what he said. We weren't creating nothing, mate. And I don't know, it's a little bit of a worry when you're leaking at the back and you're not creating anything up front. The only thing I would have liked to have seen differently, I was gutted that Rice came off when Downs come on, because I just wanted to see that pairing in midfield, because they've had that banter and that real connection since in the sort of changing in the training ground. And it was like, okay, so they're both having a laugh and a giggle, and they're both this young English ball playing type, central midfielders. I'd have loved to see them both just play together and just see how they linked up. But I'm sure there's plenty more time for us to see that. But that would have just given me a little bit of something to take away from the game over than just a 3-1 loss, maybe.
I don't think they've played much together, and it has been a kind of one going off and one going on. So that's kind of in his plan. I'm not sure he's going to try and do that at the beginning of the season. Agard got injured, mate, didn't he? Ankle, and doesn't look good, does it?
But what a terrible mistake that led to it. His touch was awful, so bad. And I know it's pre-season, and I know it's, you're not going to read too much into that, and we shouldn't read too much into that. But wow, and I guess it's the problem, mate. He's sitting there thinking, eyes are on me a little bit. I've got a bit to prove. He's done that terrible touch. He'd almost have just been better off letting the geezer score. It's pre-season. No, but he would though, mate, because it's pre-season. Why then try and overstretch, overreach? Really, and he was just desperate to make amends for that touch that he had. But he could have done that in the next passage of play or in the next attack or whatever. I think he's desperately tried to recover because he didn't want to make a mistake this early on in his West Ham career. And he suffered for it, and now we're all going to suffer for it. I would have much rather him just let that bloke take a shot and move on. And then we wouldn't have this problem.
I think he's looked when he's trying to bring the ball out at Reading, but one or two things I noticed in the Reading game was a couple of crosses went in and he didn't stop it. Either he's waiting for the other centre-half to get there first. So there's a lot of misunderstanding at the moment at the back. And that Reading boys, they got a couple of headers in on goal, and I'm like, if there's a good centre-half pairing, they usually stop that, don't they, from getting any shots on target. So I noticed that. I mean, listen, we're not the experts, we're not the scouts, we didn't know much about him. They've put 30 million on the table. They must be confident that he can step up and kind of do well, really. So we'll see what happens. And Areola again, mate, only half a game so far, isn't it, in pre-season? So it looks like Fabianski's nailed on to start against Man City. Again, it's only pre-season, but when I saw the Rangers goals, none of them looked good at the back, really, including the goalkeeper. But it kind of is what it is, mate. So just want to kick off again yesterday, and this is the end now, mate. Isn't it? We can nip this one now in the bud, mate. And it's
mate, it never got started. It never got started for me. I don't know why people see this man. All his life evolves around is social media and attention, and he shouldn't get any attention, right? Because he couldn't even get into an absolute dire Man United side. He's a clown. All he does is prance around on social media like an absolute idiot. I didn't want him anywhere near West Ham. The fact that my club are not going to have some muppet who calls himself Jay Lings is an absolute... mate, I'm over the moon. Absolutely over the moon, giving it all this and whatever he does. What a muppet. Get him. He is so removed from what West Ham United are about and what we've been about in the past. I'm so happy that he isn't going to become a West Ham United player. I don't give him the attention. I don't think anyone else should give him the attention. And when he signed from Forest, everyone sort of tweeting about him and still giving him the attention. Just ignore the mug, because he was never right for us from day one. And mate, I'm so glad that chapter's closed. I just wish every West Ham fan would stop tweeting about him.
Yeah, the other thing to look at, if your manager wants him, then you're kind of obliged to try and get him for your manager, isn't it? That's the other side of looking at it.
I don't know, mate. Did he want him that bad? I don't know. Again, everyone makes assumptions on that. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen Moyes come out and go, "Oh, I'm desperate for Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard's my main man. He's the one that I want." I haven't seen Moyes say that. You know, he come out against Rangers and said he needed players. You know, and there's no question that he needs players, but I've never seen any actual Moyes, you know, quote saying that Jesse Lingard is his main man. So I don't know.
I think we got him second game, haven't we? I think something like that. Second game away.
Second or third?
Away.
Yeah.
You think he'll score?
Mate, 100%. The only guarantee in football is that he scores against us when we play. He scores the first goal, mate. If everyone talks about betting, I don't have time for betting, to be honest. But if there's one bet that you want to have that you can absolutely confidently say is a guarantee, it's that man scores against West Ham when we go to the Forest ground, mate. I tell you.
Yeah, it is. It is, mate. This is a new one, isn't he? This guy linked yesterday, 29. Korean, I think he is. So 29, Bordeaux, scored a lot of goals at international level as well as the league. And this is quite unique with Frankie. He's actually told the press that West Ham have made me an offer. So he's just said it. And I'm like, oh, hasn't kept that quiet. But
well, I told you all a week ago that when everyone was getting excited and everyone was thinking Broha's coming, Lingard's coming, Skamaka's coming, all these players are coming, I sat here and said, you're all mad. And I don't believe any of it. And I don't believe we're serious about any of it. And just wait until they're over the line before you start getting excited. We had people come in the chat and tell us that it was signed, sealed and delivered. If you know, you know, these players are on their way. And then the very next day, 24 hours later, it's all gone pear-shaped and we're not getting any of them. So what I can tell you is something like this, I can believe. See that man on that page there? That is more in line with what David Sullivan would put his money up for and can afford. That is spot on. This is West Ham's player right here, right now. I do believe that we have made him an offer. I didn't believe we'd offered 30 million for Broha. I didn't believe we'd offered 38 million for Skamaka. I don't believe any of that. But I do believe we've probably offered him about 15 grand a week and have probably put up about £8 million in a bid to sign this guy. This is David Sullivan level, this guy.
Yeah, apparently they're cash strapped and he's 29. Yeah, he probably cost 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 million pounds, something like that, really. Glenn, how are you, sir?
That's the point. The only gutting thing about the Lingard scenario, and it's the last thing I'll say on it, see that mug who was like sending pictures of the Chicken Run chicken shop on. The only disappointing thing is the Chicken Run don't still exist, and he had to play in front of it this year because the Chicken Run would have absolutely given it to him. And that is the only disappointing thing, is that the Chicken Run don't still. What does he? If you know, you know. What does he know about the Chicken Run? Silly idiot, mate.
It is, and yeah, he's going to get one hell of a sort of welcome when he comes to London Stadium and things like that. I mean, West Ham's window. I mean, how are you feeling this morning about what's happened so far? Who's come in and how we're?
Oh, we're going to line up the same as what we did last season, but with less fringe players that can sort. I know they weren't much anyway, but you know we've basically got the same starting 11, mate. Nothing's going to be any different. It's exactly Ariola's the same. You know, Downs probably isn't going to start. It's still probably going to be Rice and Souček. So, and now our defender we bought's injured. So it's the same 11, but without your Yarmolenko's and those players who were coming on. So there's, you know, the window's totally ineffective at the moment. It's changed nothing.
Scattergun approach again, and yeah, like you said, they're just throwing their darts all over the place, aren't they? And wherever it lands, and like you said, we've got scouts, but it just seems the same, isn't it, mate? I mean,
I don't think we are, mate, because I don't believe in any of what they're actually saying they're doing. And if there is a reality to it that they've made an offer, they are offers to just, I don't know, they're offers to just appease the fans and make it look like they're doing something. But I'm past that. Mate, we've seen it every transfer window, yet still West Ham fans latch onto their silly games and believe these phantom bids that they put in with no real intent, and because they're so much below what the players and the clubs actually want. Why do we still believe it? At the end of the day, I'm so immune to it now. I switch off for it. I don't. And when everyone was going, bro of this, bro of that, and Skamaka this, I just sat here and just said, just wait until they're over the line. I know we have to talk about it, and I know it makes a bit of interesting discussions on shows and everything else. I get that. But I would never sit here and believe that we're going after 30, 40 million pound players. And some of the fans who were telling me we're going to sign both Skamaka and Broha, and we're going to have 2 30+ million pound strikers. And mate, when have we ever done that? I couldn't see it. I didn't believe it, and I'm not sure it is scattergun. I've told everybody that I believe that the striker we will sign is Diaz. I think it's already lined up. I think this is all stuff to say we tried for these players because they know Diaz falls short of our fans' expectations. The window will get towards the end. They'll say we did try, but at least we brought in Diaz because, you know, we needed a striker, so we got Moyes someone, and I think that's where it's going. I think that's where it's heading.
Yeah, good point, Daniel. I remember Tony Gale mentioning that if there was a winger or a striker giving him a bit of hard time, then Tony used to give him a shoulder barge into the chicken run area, and he said a lot of them didn't come back from that. They used to end up in the crowd. So, did you ever watch any games in the chicken run?
To be honest, it's not where I used to sit, mate. I never used to be a man down there, but obviously very, very aware of the chicken run, mate, and its history. So
we are, mate. We are. I think what it is. Yeah, we just get a bit romantic about West Ham when we're linked with these expensive signings. We just think it's going to happen sometimes, but it has happened a number of times, isn't it? Where we're kind of telling the fans we're trying to get these players, and then we suddenly get a totally different value player over the line, don't we, really? So it is what it is, mate. How you doing, mate? Well, I don't know. But they were kind of giving West Ham fans a stick yesterday, Forest fans. But good luck to them, mate. Good luck to them. Mike's on your side, mate. Yeah, he didn't want that kind of show coming up. Well, another name, Kostic, left wing back, mate. Serbian international, Eintracht Frankfurt. Again,
I like him, mate. He's a good player. He was, you know, a good player against us. I've always thought he's, you know, quite direct, which I think we lack a bit of that sort of direct style of football. Somebody wants to get his head down and run at players and give people a tough time. So I like him, mate. I really like him. So yeah, it's I'd be happy with it. But again, it's not one that I would even put on my radar. There's no way we're in for him. Just don't believe it.
That's for Frankie to answer, mate.
35.
Yeah. There you go with that. But what has David Moyes told him then? Because we forget to think about David in all of this, don't we? He's the one who's telling him who he wants, and he's getting more frustrated, isn't he? More and more.
Don't, does he? This is the point. It's driving me mad. Everyone says Moyes is in control. Moyes has no control. None. Absolutely zero. Everyone who tells you that all the previous signings for the last 2 years are Moyes signings and Moyes tells them who he wants, he doesn't. He doesn't. David Sullivan is in full control of, you know, the purse strings and who we bring in and everything else. David Moyes has no say, zero. And I tell you one thing, mate, the reason Stuart Pearce left again is because you knew what was coming around the corner and you knew how this window was going to pan out, because Stuart Pearce would have stayed if there wasn't something under the surface going wrong. And when it came apparent at Christmas last year when we didn't sign anyone in the January window, and that caused a massive dodgy undercurrent at West Ham and actually ruined the second half of our season. And then we got to the end of the season. I'll give Stuart Pearce his due. He was probably peed off in the January window, but he stayed with us until the end of the season. And I respect Stuart Pearce for doing that. But Stuart Pearce had enough balls about him to get to the end of the season and say, you are not committing how you should be committing to West Ham with the position we were in, and I'm off. And there's stories this morning, allegedly, that, you know, there's been a real major, you know, argument between Moyes and the board about where we are with the transfers so far this window. And it's really sad to see, mate, because we should have been in a real nice position last year. You know, had a decent season. We had a good season for West Ham. We've achieved a lot last season, and then it should be kick on and go to the next level. And again, just the lack of ambition to try and push us on is just. I'm gutted, mate, because but while I'm gutted, I did see it coming. I said to everyone, this isn't going to be a case that we then kick on and build upon that last season, because we never, ever do, mate. We never do. And Stuart Pearce is off. Moyes is now in arguments just before the season starts, which is a real shame. Mate, Warburton is just around the corner from becoming West Ham United manager. And if that happens, there is a big problem. A big problem.
Oh, God. Going back to Kostic, so I understand he's more of a left midfield, left wing back than a left back. So, because that David Rome guy, he's just too much money, mate. He's not coming. I think he's about to sign for RB Leipzig. He's going to. Again, going back to the scouts, how I rate a scout is, Frankie, when you get someone like perhaps Souček, Kafal, when we pulled out Lanzini from the Middle East, Sacco from the second French division, that's when I rate the scouting team. But when you go out and spend...
Do you think that was scouting or luck?
Luck, because Sullivan signed them, all of them.
This is what Sacco. I'm saying. There ain't no scouting involved. Luck. At the end of the day, you sign enough players, in the end, you're going to get one who comes off because you've signed so many of them. There ain't no scouting involved in any of those players you've just mentioned there. It was luck, mate. Pure and utter luck.
I mean, when you look at this guy, right, so he's worth 35 million, and they reckon he cost 3-4 million last year. A lot of these players were valued at 40 million that we're looking at this summer. Last summer, they were next to nothing, mate. That Dennis at Watford, I think he cost them £1 million, I think.
Yeah.
And so that is when perhaps if you did have a good scouting structure, they were going to kind of capture these
James is exhausted. He's just put in the chat there, he's exhausted. I'm full of beans and full of life because I haven't bought into any of the rubbish whatsoever. I haven't drained myself with any energy towards any of the rubbish that they've been putting out there and all the players we're linked with. And I'm not even disappointed. I'm still got as much energy for the Man City game as I've always had, because I knew that this is exactly where we were going to be. It's no different. It's the same old West Ham story. I fully expected it, but I'll still go into the new season full of expectation, full of life, and I'm looking forward to the first game. So you have to switch off to it, mate. This year is the first year that I've really stayed away from Twitter comments, stayed away from, the rumours, not got myself involved emotionally with any of it, not got myself excited about any of the potential stuff. I've just ignored every bit of it until they're signed, sealed and delivered. And unfortunately, that is what you have to do with West Ham, mate, or otherwise you just end up, as James is, exhausted and very disappointed. So
it is, mate. It is, because we are emotional, aren't we, as fans, and we really do sometimes think it's going to happen. But it's good to see Frankie's always looks at it in kind of clear vision and with a sensible sort of, head on his shoulders and things like that, really. But yeah, I know, mate. It is what it is. But again, another thing is, I know 2023. I mean, do you see Sullivan leaving the club at some stage in 2023, late or onwards, or that kind of thing?
I hope there is still. I think that there are moves towards ownership of the stadium. The fact that, the athletics team are happy now to move and find a home elsewhere. Obviously, once the sort of the fact that Sullivan has to give up a certain percentage of the profits, it sort of ends very soon as well. The problem is, mate, with it all, and this is the problem you've got, right, is the only person that is benefiting from last season and the season before and is going to benefit from more European football this season is David Sullivan. There's more money coming into the club than ever. I dread to think how much money we generated last year as a football club, but it would have been very, very nice. We are a proper cash cow to Sullivan. And when people tell me that I've never had it so good as a fan. Believe me, I've enjoyed seasons just as much as I did last season previously, and even championship seasons when we've got promoted. I enjoyed just as much as last season. I enjoy every season being a West Ham fan. It isn't the fans that have never had it so good. The person who's never had it so good is David Sullivan. He has no financial worries anymore. He has absolutely no issues with trying to scrape around and trying to balance the books and everything else. He has got low overheads. He's got money flooding in from massive attendances and ticket sales and TV money that's gone through the absolute roof, and extra rewards for being in Europe and everything else. The only person that has never had it so good is David Sullivan. And that's a problem for us, because all the time we are here, when he was trying to battle with relegation and he's looking over it and he's thinking, cool, my investment could drop considerably if we do go down. And he's got all that nervousness and he's got the stadium kicking off and we're, all getting round the ease box and kicking him out of the ground. That's the time where he was thinking, do I need this ag? I'm getting older. Do I really need this hassle? But right now, he has no ag, no hassle. Everyone's happy. Everyone's buying tickets week in, week out. Every game's sold out. You can't get a ticket anywhere. At the moment, he's having it brilliant, mate. And all the time he's having it like that, why would he go anywhere else? Why would he give up his cash cow? Why would he give up his easy money? Why would he give up his £7 million in loan interest? Why would he give up all of that?
Yeah.
You'd be mad too. You'd be absolutely mad. So I don't know. I think the only way he goes is if we own that stadium and somebody offers absolutely ridiculous money, that 800 million plus, and it might be enough to tempt him out, because he'll think, that's enough of a big payday to last me until, or if he finds another project that he believes in, like he sort of flirted around with Birmingham. So, I think that's the only way he goes, mate. But at the moment, I think he's in there for the long term at the moment, because, like I say, he's having it right off.
He is. I mean, talking about Birmingham, whoever he was funding, I don't think that deal went through in the end, did it? I think someone else was going to buy it.
No, someone else got it in the end. And that was, you was hoping that Lawrence Bassini sort of got in there, but was just like a holding man, if you like, because you can't own two clubs in the same league and there's a bit of complications there. You was hoping sort of Bassini would go in there, hold the fort for Sullivan, and then once Sullivan sold West Ham, then Sullivan would go and get a piece of the Birmingham pie and off he would go. So that what was looking like it was our out, unfortunately now is gone. So
what that means is I had a feeling Karen Brady was going to go as well. I was quite happy about that. She's going to stick around because she wanted a nice little bonus there, joining them, be chairman and all that kind of thing. Yeah, there's so much things in the air, isn't it? I mean, I know there's a price that he's fixed, isn't he, with the Czech guy? That's option, isn't it? So Sullivan again holds all the cards. He doesn't have to sell, but he's locked that price in. And then obviously, that clause runs out in 2023 where you don't have to pay any tax to the government. Gold, I don't think you're going to hear much about him anymore. He's kind of in the background now, isn't he? Largely as he always was. It's just a lot of uncertainty. But when you look at the owners, the wealth, I was saying in the league, they are one of the poorest, aren't they, in terms of wealth value when you put them against other people in the league, isn't it? So but it is what it is, mate. And I know. Frankie, question for you, is it? We are.
Yeah, and that's right. What we lacked last season massively was squad depth, and we're thinner on the ground now than we was last season. So it is a worry. It is a worry.
I mean, in terms of dealings, Skamaka, they reckon, I don't know, they're in discussions with him. A deal bid went in. Broja, understandably, Chelsea not that keen, and I didn't think they ever would be. Onana, apparently third, fourth bid's gone in there. Leela, not really responding. Diaz, I thought someone would have picked him up by now, so there is a couple of clubs circling around him. The other name that came to the news last couple of days, and I was like, I hope not, but then those are the ones like Frankie's like they're going to happen. Is like Ox, isn't it? Ox at Liverpool, being linked with us. I mean, it'll be a price that West Ham can afford, isn't it, Ox? I don't know. I don't know if you've still got a house in London and that kind of thing. Ooh, that's something Frankie hasn't been called in a while.
I like to think that is the case, mate. I do try and just tell it how it is. I do try and no agenda, no, we're not here to try and, get a deal off West Ham for X, Y, and Z. We've got no desire to run to, when they call supporters meetings and everyone wants to run and, go and sit in front of Karen Brady and act all important and all that. I've got no interest in any of that. I'm only interested in West Ham United Football Club, mate. And I just try and, be true to West Ham like I always have been in my, my years supporting the club. And that's it, mate. Just try and tell it how it is, which I think there's not enough of these days, but people don't like it. And if you do it on social media, mate, my God, you get called out. People really give you a lot of stick, and some people can't deal with that, but I quite enjoy it. So I'll always keep doing it and winding everyone up on Twitter because it's a bit of fun, mate.
Claret and Hugh, I mean, yeah, they've got there's rumours that Sullivan uses them, or he's one of the sites he trusts and likes. I think it's run by Sean, isn't it? I know Sean. I don't know the other chap, but I know the other chap's not very popular with a lot of people. And I think even he was mentioning something about, was it Broge or someone? He's like, there's been no bids. Sullivan's like, what the hell's everyone on about? I haven't done anything. I'm not trying to sign anyone. So that was going on. But then, where are Sky picking up all the news from? The Athletic, Sky, the Sun, Star. If we're not really doing
we
anything,
know where they pick it up from. They pick it up from David Sullivan. Mate, we were there when Baz went on to Sky Sports and, he was starting to say certain things and Rio Ferdinand was agreeing with him. And then in the background, they're like, cut. And they're stopping him saying what he's saying and don't let him sort of voice his opinions on things and it was the same with Talk Sport, exactly the same. These things get pushed out from the club to news outlets to try and appease West Ham United fans. That's what happens. And that's, I don't think that's really a secret anymore. I think that's obvious.
I think he was a bit gutted with TalkSport because they manipulated the whole situation. They rehearsed how they're going to get Baz into a corner and not let him fully speak about. And he was a bit gutted, and he said, "I'm not sure how I came across on the."
But the problem with that is, mate, Baz leads with his emotion. You can't lead with your emotion with things like that because as soon as emotion comes into play, they catch you out. You have to completely remove that, and you have to just talk facts. And we know more facts than they do. So you shouldn't have too much of an hard time with that mob if you just take that sort of. But we all lead with our heart, mate, because it's so important to us, and we love West Ham so much. So it is a difficult thing, but. I'd love to have a bit of a back and forth with them because I'd like to think that I can sort of, just add the facts into the equation, mate, and just tell them, look, this is the place we're in. And we see it every single year. This isn't anything new to us. Do you know what I mean? It's, when Baz went on there and they were saying Fofana, there's £45 million in for Fofana. David Sullivan's made the bid, blah. No, he hasn't. Don't even talk rubbish. Like he hasn't, has he? No, he hasn't. So it's and the point there, why can't we get a big deal over the line? We're still living like 5 years ago, mate. Our top wage level is sort of £80,000 a week to sort of £100,000 a week. That's the top money that we're prepared to pay. And if you want to break into that top six, mate, you've got to break that wage barrier. If you want the top players, you've got to pay for it. And we've sort of said it before. What do we have to offer, mate? I think, team players come and look at the stadium. When it's empty, when it's full, there's nothing wrong with that stadium. It can be quite a nice place to be. And it was on a few games.
Yeah.
For me, it's still no Upton Park, but that ship has sailed. But when you look at it as a shell, it doesn't look particularly nice. You see that massive scaffolding. You see all of the pitch. You go to the training ground. You go a bit like, oh, what are we doing here? Well, when you go to Leicester, you see the best facilities that you've ever seen. You see a club that is really building for the future. You see the ambition. You want to sign for a club like Leicester. With West Ham, we can't attract them because of the things that we're doing and because we've got the lovely facilities and it's a place they want to train and it's a place they want to be. The only pull that we've got really is that we're in London. That's about the best we can offer. So the only way you're going to get these players that are, almost a little bit more ambitious than West Ham is to give them the money, mate. Is to put up the money and say, look, we're going to break the mold and we're going to give you the money. And then that brings its own problems in the fact that you then get a squad that's unsettled and you get people moaning about wages and stuff like that. We're just not a very attractive football club for players to sign for, mate. And that is the problem. And why we all love West Ham and we all believe it. And, we all think everyone should want to play for West Ham because we're this amazing football club. The reality is, if you're not a fan of West Ham, you look at what we've actually got to offer and it isn't a lot, mate. It isn't a lot. And that does make it difficult to get the big deals over the line.
I think what it is, Chris, I think we don't really have the money for the deals. That's the reason. If they want 40 million, I don't think we might have 20 and the rest they want instalments, and it just ain't going to happen, mate. So I think it's just don't want to spend the money.
We must have the money, though, mate. We ain't spent none. And last year, we must have been clawing the money in. There must be some money to spend, mate. We haven't spent none in I know when you look at the figures and everything else, the biggest problem we have got as well, what don't help with on the financial side of things, is we've got it so wrong with the big marquee signings in recent years that we've spent 30s and 40s and recuperated 10. And that's just not good enough. Hilaire, Anderson, players like that. We spent the big bucks and we got very little in return. And you just can't do that. Liverpool go and spend the big bucks, but they sell them for the big bucks. I know that's an unusual example because it's a top club. But there are other football clubs, mate, that, make signings, but they still sell them for good money. You can't just keep chucking £40 million at things and only getting 10 in return a couple of seasons later. It's no good.
The other thing is just like just the bad luck around the club. I mean, we saw what happened in the Payet second season. We saw what happened to Arnie shortly after he made it good. So we got that side of it as well. And when we have brought players through, like in the Canio time and Carrick, they didn't hang around. They're all gone, and we don't really build on anything. And sometimes, we don't help ourselves. It is what it is, isn't it, mate? We'd always kind of, But when we do get ahead of the Arsenals and Spurs, we just don't carry the momentum on, do we? And now we're kind of lagging behind them again, aren't we, really? That's the problem, mate. Yeah, they like us. I mean, Deck, he puts his heart on the line every game and carries the team. He's not going to be happy, mate. And Moyes ain't happy. He ain't happy. Bowen, if he has another half-decent season, then it's going to be difficult.
I think Bowen's a little bit different, mate. I think, we've been responsible from pulling him from the Championship into the Premier League. I think he's hitting form, but I don't think he's quite hitting the form the top form that he can deliver yet. I think he'll be happy to play more first-team football and be integral to West Ham at the moment, Bowen. I think we've still got a couple more years before he'll get frustrated, but Declan is obviously the worry. He's the one who will start getting really frustrated. We've seen his frustration at times, mate. We've seen it. He does throw a little paddy on the pitch every now and then when things ain't good enough. So, Dex always said, all I want you to do is match my ambition. Money's not my driving force. And, unfortunately, at the moment, we're not showing any level of ambition whatsoever. So,
no, we're not, mate. And you've seen the fixtures, haven't you? I mean, they are reasonably difficult, aren't they? The first 6-7 games, and if we don't start,
they're all difficult, mate. You can't read too much into who you play and when you play and so on. So, I'm not so sure that makes any difference. But what you don't want to do, you certainly don't want to go and lose the first 3 games of the season, and it's an upward struggle from there, mate. That's really not what we want to see. So.
Does Sullivan go to a lot of the games, or he doesn't anymore? Do you know? Or
no, I think he's always still around, mate. Yeah.
Don't think he'll be next shift if we have a poor start and. Oh no, I don't know. Yeah, I know. Lingard, let's close that one, isn't it, Derek? That one has sailed away, mate. Have you been to Rush Green, Frankie? Have you seen it?
I haven't, mate. No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Yeah, it just looks quite average compared to everyone else. I don't know nothing about the Czech billionaire, mate. I know he's got not large, but he's got a reasonable holding of Sainsbury's shares, is it? Something like that? I don't know. And
the problem with this Czech billionaire, and everyone told me he's got loads of money, and I had this debate on Twitter again the other day. There's a big difference between wealth on paper and cash wealth. And not only cash wealth, but this is what people have to understand. You can't just transfer money from one business to another business. You're not allowed to do that. You can't just give money, millions and millions of pounds. You can't just go, right, this is in my business account over here. I'm now going to transfer that to West Ham United Holding Company. You can't do that. That's not what you're allowed to do financially. And, you know, also with him being a small shareholder, why would he go and put up 150 million pound of his money while the main shareholder, David Sullivan, is not putting in that sort of money? And then that money goes into the club. And then of that, Sullivan's still taking 7% interest or whatever it is he takes on the loans that he's got to West Ham United. It's not right. I think what this Kretinsky has said all the way through is, my ambition isn't pushing the club into Europe. It isn't any of that. It's clearing the debt, because we're not allowed to own the London Stadium while there's debt at the club. So he's always said his money will be utilised to clear the debt. That is the main priority of West Ham. And then the next move will be to take over the London Stadium and make it West Ham owned. And that is the ambition at the moment. Not anywhere has he said, I want to go and plough in loads of money to buy players and push West Ham on to a top 6 football club. He's never, ever said that. And even in his interviews, he's turned around and said, you know, don't think that this is going to be a quick race to signing loads of 30, 40 million pound players. It's not. And he made that very, very clear in all the interviews that he's had. So all this sort of fan opinion that we've got some Czech billionaire who's going to start signing loads of players and we're going to have loads of money to spend, it just was never a reality, mate.
Yeah. I think, while you're number 2, that obviously the main vote, the main decisions will go with Sullivan. And then, when you move money around entities and businesses, there's tax implications, legal implications. You have to set up proper intercompany loan agreements, get all that done. So it's not quite straightforward really with that.
It's not as simple as people think. You know, on the surface, it looks like, oh, he's got billions, he can spend that on West Ham. It just don't quite work like that, you know.
Charles, how you doing, mate? You're right. So you think we're going to struggle top 10, mate? We'll see. But what we're really seeing is with the amount of money that's going to all the clubs in the Premier League, everyone's getting a really good, decent squad and team, isn't it? And like you said, Frankie, every game's difficult, but even more so now these days, as we saw with our results, we lost to Leeds, Southampton at home, Brighton, Burnley, Tottenham, Arsenal. Anyone can beat anyone, really. That's kind of why our league is the best in the world, really. Yeah, I think that 40 million that Czech Kretinsky gave, they all went back to Sullivan and Gold, didn't it? Paid back some of their loans and things like that. I mean, we can say what we want against Mike Ashley, mate, but he left them in a good financial position.
Mate, if anyone, and I really do recommend this, it's one of the best videos you will ever watch. If you go and watch Mike Ashley versus the panel of government officials that he had to go and talk about his takeover of House of Fraser Group, that man is the most intelligent businessman I've ever come across. He is fantastic, and it's one of the best videos. He pulls that group of government officials apart, mate. He literally has them on strings, and it's a fantastic watch, regardless of whether or not he met Newcastle's expectations, which I think is always difficult because, sorry Newcastle fans, but I think you think you're a bigger club than what you actually are. You know, I don't think he did a bad job there personally. I really don't. And they will hate that. I certainly would have had, if you would have said to me over the last 10 years, would you have wanted the Golden Sullivan era or a Mike Ashley era? I would have taken a Mike Ashley era all day long, mate, because I don't think he would have pulled us apart quite as bad as GSB would have done. But we had that debate on Newcastle Fan TV before, and it was interesting. So I'm not saying he was a great football owner. I'm not saying, you know, he was, but as a businessman, an out-and-out businessman, he is fantastic, mate. He's really good.
He went to the same school as my younger two, actually.
Did he really? Yeah.
He went to grammar school, and he's done well for himself, and he's quite shrewd, and
very shrewd, mate. Very shrewd.
Got a couple of those warehouses up north and things like that, really. So, yeah. So then the people are not happy, mate. Oh my God, I can't remember being this kind of low before the season. Oh, mate. Oh, interesting. I know a lot of people have, mate. Look at the share prices all over the world. The FX rates are, you know, euro and dollars on par, wasn't it, last week? It's all over the place, mate. Oh, Everton, yeah. When I look at Everton, I get happy. They are in a worse position than us. 5-6 at a minimum, mate. Frankie Greeno. Yeah, not good news this morning, mate. Okay, so it's not even top 10. Everyone's thinking. I'll tell you what. Yeah,
I know I'm sitting here all miserable, and I'm not miserable. That's the point. I'm not miserable. I'm just saying this is what I kind of expected all along. But I don't know, mate. I always still have that sort of, like I said before, I still have that expectation, mate. I don't think we're going to have a terrible, terrible season, because I think our first 11 is good enough to give anyone a match. But it is a worry if we get any injuries, or we get any. We got lucky with injuries last year. Let's be honest. Deck played the majority. Bowen had a little time out, but it wasn't terrible. Antonio held himself up all the way through. I think we got very, very lucky with injuries last year. You'd have to be really lucky to have 2 seasons where you don't get any, main player injured when you haven't got any backup. So that would be the worry. But I'm not writing the season off completely, mate. And I do think some signings will still come in. I still think Diaz will be our striker, but I think some signings will come in elsewhere. So I'm not writing it off too much just yet, mate.
I think going back to your question, you suspect there's a lot of reasons why people buy clubs. When you look at Abramovich, yeah, he kind of put a lot of debt there and it suited him. But more than that, was he was after a British passport. Similarly with the ex-Fulham and Harrods owners, sometimes there's a different reason, and perhaps they want their name to be known and become reputable. If you own a Premiership club, it gets you, reasonably well known in the business world, that kind of thing. So many different reasons, isn't it, mate? Sometimes why people do it.
Yeah, we know why people have that interested in West Ham, and that's we're sitting upon probably the potentially the richest land in London at present. It's the fastest growing area in London. Mate, that land that surrounds that football stadium is worth an absolute fortune. Beyond our wildest dreams, how much money that sort of land could bring the football club. But you need the right person in who's going to do the right things with it, and the person who's going to sort of use it in the right way. Unfortunately, we haven't got that at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, the company I work for at the moment, they build data centers globally, so make them secure and provide the right temperature and security, and then companies put all their servers in there. And yeah, everyone wants to be in London. They said, like, we got places outside the M25, but people want to be in that city of London. And then I went to the top of the roof, and the data center we've got in London, Frankie, it's kind of one of the old breweries in London. It's their building, so sometimes you can't own these, so you always have a rental agreement. It's right near where all the Jack the Ripper sort of area is and things like that around there. A lot of history, and then we saw one building, Frankie, it was derelict, hasn't even got a roof. So there's an owner who's you can imagine he's just waiting for the price to go up. It's in a really bad nick, but where it is, right outside all the big sort of City of London buildings, and you got these you got these landlords in London who are just I don't know when they acquired these properties 50, 60 years ago, it was in their family, but you imagine you have something like that in the city, yeah, it's gonna go through the roof, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's getting lower and lower, mate. I thought we gained 10th, now we're going down towards 15th, mate. God, season hasn't even started, mate. We are really negative.
I ain't quite there yet, mate. I'm not quite at the point where we've been in a much worse place. Don't get me wrong. While I'm not saying we're in the best place in the world, we've been in much worse places in the last sort of 10 years. So, yeah, I'm not sitting here going, oh, my God, isn't it terrible being a West Ham fan? I'm certainly nowhere near that yet.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. If we do get an uncertain start to the season and we see our neighbours across London doing better than us, and that's why I said, does Sullivan go to the games? I don't think he's going to hang around, mate. He did one season, didn't he, Glenn? 1 or 2, and then he just got annoyed, didn't he? I don't know. But I do remember Alan Sugar saying that the worst thing he ever done was going to football. He used to have a go at footballers, that they're spoiled. Oh, they earn too much, all that kind of thing. So you got to be mad to buy a football club, Frankie.
I started watching. I didn't start watching. I started reading the Simon Jordan autobiography, and I was really keen on reading through it, and I really enjoyed the sort of opening biopsy and sort of, you know, overview of what was going to be in you know, the book as it sort of went through it and everything else. And I was really looking forward to reading it. And then chapter 1, Wembley. Oh, sorry, not Wembley, Millennium Stadium versus West Ham United in the playoff final. I just chucked the book across the room. I went, I'm not reading that rubbish.
Yeah.
Bad memories, that Crystal Palace one, mate. That was a real gutting day, that was.
Talking about that, the guy who scored, was it Shipley? Neil Shipley,
yeah,
I think?
Yeah, it was Neil Shipley, yeah.
God, he's a big lad now, and he was actually not far from where I used to go to school, Chelsea and that kind of area. Dagenham, mate. You reckon we go to Dagenham there? We'll see, mate.
Do go Dagger.
Yeah. I think the draw is 2nd of August, if I'm right, mate, because I got confused with all the qualifiers, so many of them. I think the draw's around the 2nd of August, something like that. So I think we've got 2 friendlies left. So if I just show you this, so this is the next one, Frankie, coming up. It's Luton away. God, look at that ground, Frankie. Oh my God, that is history, mate. It hasn't changed. As a kid, I used to think, how many footballs do they lose? You know, you know, I mean, your little one's got a good chance of kicking it out the ground, but
he has, mate. He's half got a kick on him.
What, have you got wooden fences? Because they're going to go, aren't they?
I have. Yeah, I've got wooden fences, yeah.
So they're all going to go. Cricket is even worse, tennis. And this is the ground, ladies and gentlemen, in 1985, Millwall Luton. If you haven't seen footage on YouTube of what used to happen in the mid-80s, and that peaked, I think that's what led to the standing being banned and all that kind of thing. And Luton banned away fans after this. It's carnage. It was a cup tie, Millwall Luton. It was all pre-planned, London, and oh God, it's nuts, mate. I remember that as a kid at school. What's going on there? Oh my God. No, nothing like that. I think we're okay. We're kind of, despite we say, touch on, we haven't really been thrashed as such for a long time. We're well organised, even with 10 men. We've seen it. We do hold our shape, don't we? So, but the thing is, we're okay. Like, yeah, kind of being organised, but our worry isn't, there's no creativity. We don't have a striker. How are we going to score? You know, that kind of thing, really. So that's kind of what we're worried about. Luton, you going to be going to that, mate?
No, not for me, that one, mate. No, I'm down in Yarmouth, so I won't be able to get to that.
Right, our allocation was 1,500, and it's sold out. So, I mean, look at that! Look at that! You got to be joking me! What the hell? Oh mate, I know we got one guy from Luton watches us forever blowing bubbles. Whipsnade Zoo is nearby for your little one, Frankie. They're telling me Luton, so I know that's famous, Dunstable. Interesting. Anyway, we've nearly done.
What we got here, mate? With the playoff round, so the draw is the 2nd of August.
Yeah, 2nd of August.
Tuesday, the 2nd of August. So interesting, mate. Interesting. Having a look at the teams that are in there at the moment is there's a few decent games we could get in there, mate. A few decent ones.
I'm up for it, mate. I'm just glad we got something, didn't we? Just about. I'm all right with it.
I'm all right with it. Any European football's fun, mate. You know, there's Villarreal in there, Fiorentina, Panathinaikos. Nice trip to Greece, mate. Anderlecht in there. So FC 20. Nice trip to Holland would be nice. So there's some interesting ties that we could potentially get in there, mate. So
yeah, I know. I think we should be okay. I'm just trying to get that information up.
Dundee United up to Scotland.
You always had a feeling it's not going to be so straightforward, is it?
I just, something tells me in my gut that we might not just breeze through it, because we always make hard work anytime we've got to qualify for Europe. So I'm hoping that isn't the case and we just brush past it. But I'd almost like to see just almost a guarantee. While you could sort of end up with a Basel, or you could end up with an. Do you remember Anderlecht in the pre-season at Upton Park? That was a brilliant day out.
No, I don't remember
sun was
that.
shining. It was a fantastic. And there was a lot of needle that day. It was very, very lively. It was a really, really good pre-season that was. And you know what, again, on the air of moaning, I suppose that's what we're here to do, mate. It's the hammering it out show, and I'm very good at it. But again, we can't have that big game at the London Stadium pre-season, the old Betway Cup or whatever it used to be, mate. I used to like that day. Normally a week before the season starts, or a couple of weeks before the season starts, a big team, a foreign team coming over to Upton Park or the London Stadium. I used to quite enjoy them. So they gave us Rangers, so I'm not going to moan too much. I think they did well getting that friendly over the line. But I did used to enjoy a friendly at home just before the season started, mate.
What that means, mate, is that we haven't had any games at home. That Betway Cup, whatever, that's not happening. So yeah, we're not going to play. And you've seen other teams. I think Man United are in the Far East.
Yeah,
I don't know where Liverpool, Tottenham are, but they're doing their own bits really. So we're coming up to the hour, everyone. You guys are being great, and thank you for your time, Frankie. And unfortunately, I did promise you guys a signing last week, didn't I? And it hasn't happened. I really thought we were going to get close to something happening. And I mean, this time next week, Frankie, what do you think, mate? More kind of.
I think we will have a signing next week, mate. I didn't last week. I was very sure that we wouldn't sign any of those ones that we were linked with. I really just didn't believe that we were serious about them and that we put up enough money for them. But I think that with everything that's going on at the club now, with Moyes kicking off, with the fans starting to get really restless, I think this week we'll see somebody come in. I don't know who it will be, but I think the board know. But this is what I try and get across all the time. We've had that board on the ropes a couple of times where they're really feeling the pressure. And unfortunately, the only times that they ever seem to do anything is when the pressure's on. And we just need, as fans, not to get pacified by their silly games that they play. Last week, everyone was talking about how amazing this window was going to be and how good the board were, and they'd turned everything around, and then all of a sudden they don't bother signing anybody and don't put the money up. So, they only respond to pressure, unfortunately. So we have to keep the pressure on. We need to keep having a pop at them and keep kicking off at them. And we need to get behind David Moyes, mate, because David Moyes has delivered us 2 very good seasons. And if Moyes is saying they're not giving him what he wants, none of this believing when the board come out and turn around and go, oh, we gave David Moyes a list of players, he didn't want any of them. Don't believe that. Don't believe it. I told everyone not to believe that story from before, and don't believe it again now. If they give him a true list of players that are absolutely a load of rubbish, then he's got every right to turn around and say, I don't want any of them. If they turn around now and draft up a list of, we couldn't get Broja, we couldn't get Skamaka, but here's a load of rubbish that we can sign for you, who pretty much will get over the line. If David Moyes don't want any of it, then I'm all for it. So David Moyes has given us 2 really good seasons, and I think he genuinely cares about West Ham. And he's kicking off, and he's, there's no smoke without fire. So I know it's only allegedly that he's had a row with the board, but if he is at loggerheads with them and he's having a moan up, and I believe it because he come out and said, after the Rangers game, we need players. So I do believe that he is kicking off about he needs bodies in. We need to back him. We need to get the pressure on, and we need to, hopefully force the board to spend some money, mate.
We will. And budget-wise, again, Frankie, the way we've been linked with people like 40 million, 30 million, 10 million, one knows what the budget is, who we're going to get in. And if we do get this Anana over the line, it will mean we've bought all the players we've bought are defensive players, CDM, 2 CDMs, centre-back, goalkeeper. That's not going to make a lot of people happy, is it? We need strikers. We need a number 10 to help Ben Rama and things like that, really. So, yeah, that word verge, I'm kind of tired now, mate. Verge, about to. I mean, I've just
ignore.
Yeah. Ignore all that, mate. But anyway, it's been a good show. We've discussed lots of different points, and hopefully, again, this time next week there'll be some interesting stuff to go through, and hopefully a player to speak about, mate. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone in the chat. I hope everyone has a nice weekend, and we'll group and catch up in the next couple of days. Take care, everyone.
See you later.
See you later. Take care.